Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be going over 5 remaining free agents that I think the Washington Commanders should sign. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 7,500 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also, hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Also, go ahead and follow the Twitter. Link is in the description. Now, let's get right into the video. Okay, so now that the draft is over, we kind of know the biggest holes remaining on the Washington Commanders and some of the holes that they filled in the draft. So real quick, before we go over those 5 players, let's talk about, their main holes. I think their biggest hole by far right now is the middle linebacker, and even other linebackers as well. Like, they need a middle linebacker, but they also probably need to get another backup as well, because they got Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. I think Jamin Davis is going to do a lot better this year on the outside, and then Cole Holcomb, we'll see if he's on the outside or on the inside, but regardless, they need at least one other linebacker, and probably 2, because it's Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb as the starters, and then after that, David Mayo is a backup at best, and he's not even a great backup, and then you have Khaleke Hudson, who, was hurt last year and really didn't, do that much when he did play, and then, besides that, you have, undrafted free agents and special teams guys, so, it's just, you're in a really tough situation at the linebacker position. You also lost Landon Collins. So I think bringing in a linebacker is pretty much a necessity. So I think that's a big position to need. Some positions that they filled in the draft, wide receiver, they needed to add another playmaker, and they did. And I think, they're pretty much done at that position. We'll see how it goes, but they got their top guys in Terry Curtis, Jahan Dotson, and De'Ami Brown and Cam Sims. There's still some room for another receiver, but that's likely just going to be the punt returner or Dax Mills, something like that. I doubt they're going to add someone else, and they also addressed offensive line depth. Not really. I mean, you did draft Chris Paul, who's a guard, but they also signed guard Trey Turner. So I think they're pretty much done on the offensive line. They might sign a guy or so in the offseason, but I don't think anyone very, very significant. They might need another tackle. Then running back, they've got enough guys there. Quarterback, same thing. And then tight end, they could add a veteran, but right now they have Logan Thomas, John Bates, Sammis Reyes, and Cole Turner. So I don't know if they're going to, do much there, but keep your eye out for a veteran. If they do get a guy, it'll probably be someone who's been in the league for a while. So, and they still need some depth on the defensive line, but they did somewhat address that, selecting Fedarian Mathis, who will be that third guy coming out of the rotation. So going over that now, after going over that, let's go into the 5 free agents I think the Washington Commanders should target. Number 1 is a familiar guy, and that is Landon Collins, and I talked about him, much more in detail in, a previous video a couple of days ago, so you guys can go ahead and watch that. But I think Landon Collins coming back would be a good idea. There is some mutual interest between Washington and Landon Collins. If they can get him for cheap, I think it would be a good deal, because when him, Cameron Curl, and By McCain were on the field last year, Washington's defense played very, very well, and when one of those guys wasn't on the field, the defense did not play well. So I think there is a correlation there. Landon Collins at that linebacker/safety position, kind of a hybrid, played a lot better. Even at will linebacker sometimes he played, and he played a lot better there, and the defense played a lot better when he was playing at that position. When he was playing at safety, did not play well at all. But when he played at that hybrid position, he played a lot better. Didn't play great, but was solid for us. Was better in the run game, was better in coverage, because he wasn't, he didn't have to do that, intermediate to long or deep passing game. It was instead short to intermediate passing game, which he's much, much better at. Had 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. 2 of those were gimme sacks from Dak Prescott, who ran out of bounds, but he played a lot better. If you can get him for cheap, I would do it. He's had some injury issues, but I think if you can get him in for cheap, I think he would help us out a ton on defense and would really fill a hole. Could play Buffalo nickel. You could move Cam Curl to Buffalo nickel. I mean, there's so many things you could do if you bring in someone like Cameron Curl. So many different rotations you can make. So I would go ahead and try to target and sign Landon Collins. So the next guy on the list, and I've been talking about this guy for a very, very long time, and that is linebacker Alexander Johnson from the Denver Broncos. You look at his stats last year, you look at the advanced stats. He only played in 6 games, so the sample size is small, but allowed a 39% completion percentage, a 69.7 pass rating, which anything under 90 is pretty good. Like if you're a quarterback, you want to have over 90 passer rating. And, also, for linebackers, the completion percentage is usually a little bit higher because it's shorter passes. So keep that in mind too. And, in terms of tackling, he is a very, very good tackler. Didn't miss a single tackle all season. 5% the year before, 8% the year before, so he's improving, but also anything under 10 is very, very good. So him having 5 and then 0 in the past couple years is very good. He's not really known as a coverage linebacker, but the last couple years he's been okay. This percentage, it's not bad, it's not great though, but the passer rating is still below that average I was talking about. And same thing here, he's only allowed 1 touchdown in the last 3 years. Again, great tackler, great in the run game, and could play in a different scheme for sure, because the Broncos play in a 3-4, I believe, but he can adjust. Players adjust all the time. I think he can play in a 4-3. He can be that inside linebacker for you, and I would definitely consider signing him. He also can get to the quarterback. 2 sacks this past year, 1 the year before, and 1.5 sacks the year before. So very, very versatile player. He was my number 1 player going into free agency, considering our cap situation, and he's still available. So I would definitely try to go ahead and sign him if you can. He would be a great signing. Next guy on this list is Akeem Hicks. We still do, we did address defensive line depth a little bit, getting, Fedarian Mathis, but that's just one guy. And Efe Obada, I like him too. He's versatile, can play DN and, interior defensive line. I still think we need another guy, both on, in the interior and on the outside. And Akeem Hicks can kind of do both, but I see him more as an interior defensive lineman. And, he's a veteran leader. He can help these younger guys out, maybe help Fedarian Mathis out. And this past year only played 9 games, but had 3.5 sacks. So if he played 17 games, he was on pace for like 6.5, 7 sacks. So, still very productive last year, 3.5 the year before, and then 1 the year before. But again, that was 5 games. But when he was, healthy, the last couple of years he was healthy, he had 8.5 and 7.5 sacks. So he's a guy I would consider bringing in. I don't know what he's asking for, but if you can get him for a reasonable deal, I think he makes your defensive line a lot better and can line up on the inside and on the outside as well. So he's a very versatile player that I would definitely consider bringing in. Another guy is another defensive lineman, and that's Melvin Ingram from, I guess, the Kansas City Chiefs this past year. And you might look at the stats and say, well, he really didn't do much last year. He only had 2 sacks, but when he was playing for the Chiefs, because he was on the Steelers, I believe, the first half of the season until the trade deadline, he was very, very good for the Chiefs. Got a ton of pressure for them. Didn't always show up on the stat sheet in terms of sacks, but he got a bunch of pressure. Like his PFF grade was 79.7, which is very, very good. Had a forced fumble. They had him here with 3 sacks. I think Melvin Ingram would be a very, very solid signing, because I think we need another edge rusher besides, I love Chase Young, love Montez Sweat, but Efe Obada is good, but he's a good, 4th, guy, and we need a guy behind Chase Young and Montez Sweat that's better than Efe Obada, in my opinion. And, James Smith-Williams is all right as well, but Melvin Ingram would be that veteran leader, at that edge rush position that they desperately need, because Kerrigan did it in his in Chase Young's rookie year, and I thought it worked out pretty well. Both Chase Young and Montez Sweat had great years, but this past season they had no one in the room to help him out, in terms of edge rushers. And I think bringing in someone like Melvin Ingram, who's been in the league since 2012, who's had, double-digit sack season before, has been a Pro Bowler, I believe an All-Pro before. So bringing in someone like that, I think would help in terms of, first of all, just production. He's still a very good player, and if one of those guys goes down, he's still an above average starter, but he also can help these guys with their approach, developing pass rush moves, things like that. He would be able to help them with. They had no one like that last year, which I think was a mistake. So at the very least this year, they got Efe Obada, who's been in the league for a few years. Last year is basically Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and then 1st or 2nd year 7th round picks, which, yeah, not going to work out. So last guy on this list is Chris Harris, cornerback for the Denver Broncos. And yeah, all the players I had today were defensive players. And you might say, well, our offense was not great last year. And I understand that, but the thing is, I was talking about it earlier in the video. Most of our offensive spots are kind of filled up. Quarterback, obviously filled up. They already got 3 little roster locks there. Running back, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Brian Robinson, Jarrett Patterson. I don't anticipate, and even Jonathan Williams. I don't think they're going to add another guy there. And then you look at receiver, maybe they want to add another guy. I highly doubt it. An offensive line, they have good depth at guard. Maybe they want to add a tackle. And then tight end is the only position I could see them doing something there. Eric Ebron, Kyle Rudolph, Jared Cook, those are options. If Logan Thomas's recovery is taking longer than expected, they can start Logan Thomas on IR and bring in another tight end, in the offseason if they think he's going to start on IR, and then you can bring Logan Thomas back eventually. So that could be offensive player they bring in, but that's really it. I don't see any other position that, they bring in a significant guy, because they're obviously going to bring in more camp bodies eventually. But yeah, I don't see anything major happening. So Chris Harris, I think we do need a slot corner, and he can play slot corner for you. And this past season, let me scroll through, he actually had a pretty solid season for the Los Angeles Chargers as that kind of slot corner. So, and he is a little bit up there in age, 32 years old, about to turn 33. Obviously not old, and just old in terms of football career. But you look at the stats. The last couple years, 60% completion percentage in 2021 isn't great, but is solid, better than what we've had in terms of some of our slot corners. I like Kendall Fuller, but he played really well last year on the outside, and actually didn't play well in the slot. And then in 2020, allowed a 58% completion percentage. So he's solid. He can play solid for you. And of course, before was very, very good. He has that connection, I believe, with Jack Del Rio. I want to see how far he went back with the Broncos. But yeah, he had that connection with Jack Del Rio, who was a defensive coordinator there. So I think it definitely could be a pairing that makes sense, and he's a veteran. You can get him for cheap, and I would be pretty happy with that, because I think slot corner, unless you plan on having Bob McCain there, I think it is a position of need. I like Danny Johnson, but I don't think he's a starting slot cornerback in this league. I think he's a backup at best. I don't think he's anything more than that. He had some good plays at times last year, but he also got burnt. So I don't see him as a starter. Maybe they do, but yeah. So that is it for today's video. I didn't do any offensive players. Just, again, I explained my reasoning. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.